to dismantle America. And you
Oh
can
no,
see
he was
it
put in as a
in each of
placeholder.
these appointments.
But you think this for political survival? Well, no, he's not capable of it. So why even waste any time? But it shows a total lack of wherewithal or what's going on. And speaking of that, the Dems are increasingly distancing themselves from Biden. They know it's a free fall. They know it's a complete collapse. And in fact, a recent poll, and it's not a right-wing nutcase poll, came out and said he's a 38% approval rating. I'd love to see the 38% that actually think he's competent. I think it's lower than that. Essentially, the Democrats are fleeing him like a bad habit.
Yeah, and it's not just the voters and the approval rating. Democratic operatives are fleeing him as well. He keeps pushing for more mask mandates. Meanwhile, Democratic governors are removing mandates all across the country. And the one thing all of those governors have in common is that they're all up for re-election. They know that people are tired of this. Democrats who are running for election in November, the White House has offered Biden services to campaign for them, and almost none of them have gotten back to him because
That's
they
like
don't.
having a loved one in critical care and soliciting Dr. Kevorkian to assist in the process. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, at this point, Biden, the best analogy I can think of is that Biden is the relative to the Democratic Party who you only want to really deal with at Thanksgiving, and even then you'd rather they stay home. But
Yes.
it's the one when you see the number on the caller ID, you pretend you're not by your phone. Nobody wants to hear from him anymore. He has become poison to the Democratic Party. And John Kennedy yesterday had two just absolutely brilliant comments. One was that wokeism runs through the Democratic family. It practically gallops. And the second comment he made is that reality calls every day and Biden hangs up.
Oh, yeah. No, it's his handlers. When you look at him, and I'm not repeating any talking points, you just see him. I saw him at a press conference, I would say a week ago. And my God, if it was my uncle or one of my older family members, I would be concerned. Dr. Jill Biden, let him off the stage like basically you're talking Weekend at Bernie's. This guy is going down exponentially every minute.
No,
it's becoming an embarrassment.
Yeah, there have been people within the Democratic Party who have floated the idea that these folks need to be investigated for elder abuse for the way they're trotting him out.
Is that really in the Democratic Party?
There are Democrats who are saying this.
Well, I think if I was a Democrat in a, let's say, a purple state like Arizona and others, you got to be scared shitless. And no one has your back. It's not like Clinton in the 90s when he did an about-face, a 180, and became an effective president. This guy's not in charge. He's a captive of the far left, and he continues on this course. He's a kamikaze pilot.
We are seeing signs that the Democratic Party is taking their crisis seriously, though. There have been a number of people who have already announced that they will be primarying members of the squad. So the Democrats know that this push to the left has killed them. It is pushing America away from them. And in some areas, they're starting to respond. Even in New York City, Eric Adams, he's made some comments over the last day that make me think he's nuts. But at least he was able to stand up to the defund the police movement, to the folks that are going, oh, no, we have to do bail reform. It's like he's fighting back against this. And you're seeing more and more of this across the country. I don't think they're going to be able to turn it around in time for November's elections. I still think they're going to get shellacked. But I think there are enough Democrats who see this who are going, all right, so once we get past the elections, we've got to pull back. We have got to move to the center. Otherwise, we are just committing suicide.
Agreed, but you know something? Unlike the last primary with the Democratic Party, which was like, woof, too bad I don't smoke pot anymore. I mean, my God, you could like, it was like every freak show in the world, Kamala leading the charge. I think, just like Reagan did, rescuing the Republican Party in 1980, I really believe there's a huge opportunity for like a Ford or others, a moderate Manchin-esque kind of candidate that could resonate. I think that that ship has sailed. Do you think I'm incorrect?
No, you're right. I mean, the left wing is becoming less and less relevant, except within the party right now. If they start rallying around Manchin, around cinema, for those of you on social media, I urge you to follow Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes.
She has made some absolutely brilliant analyses. There are people in the Democratic Party that know what's going on and are capable of rescuing this party from the disaster it's become.
I think she may be the hidden rising star. She actually came out, she had the ho-hos to say, you know, Biden saying, I want to nominate, you know, there has to be a black woman for the Supreme Court. She was like, well, you did that before with Kamala. This is a Democrat. And that was a disaster. Please don't do it again. That's cojones.
Yeah, it is. She has spoken up against the Democratic leadership. She has spoken up against the left. Remember, she spoke up against Hillary Clinton. Hillary tried to paint her as a Russian operative, basically from the same Steele dossier, I guess. That's basically Hillary's go-to is if you're against her, you're a Russian operative. Well, guess what? Gabbard's not a Russian operative. She's an intelligent woman, and God willing, she is the future, along with Manchin, along with cinema.
And I would vote for her. How does that sound?
Absolutely. If Gabbard was running for president, I would endorse her. I would vote for her. She knows what's going on.
100%. She's where America is and where the squad is not, and where, well, Biden's not even on this planet. Yeah, and speaking of that, if she ran against Trump, I would vote for her. How does that sound?
I actually would vote for Tulsi Gabbard over Donald Trump because, honestly, they actually have a lot of the same viewpoints. She's a lot less extreme, and she knows how to put her ego aside and get things done for the good of the American people.
Unlike Donald Trump, who didn't. I agree with almost every one of his policies, but there is something inherently deficient with his psyche. I'm not a psychologist. I don't really give a shit to be one. Okay. But here you go with you talking about Donald Trump. What's his name for the Senator Graham? What's his name
Lindsey
again?
Graham.
Lindsey Graham. Sorry about that. Lindsey Graham basically gave him all the accolades you could ever imagine. He's the future. He's this. He's that. Whoa, I'm thinking even Lindsey Graham's kind of positioning himself to maybe be a vice presidential candidate. What does Trump do? He's a rhino. And you're like, oh, you know, I actually had, obviously, I voted for Trump over numbnuts, but still. Yeah, everyone had Trump fatigue. He's Trump like picking fights with like the waitress at Denny's. Enough is enough.
No, Trump has gone too far. Mike Pence made a very intelligent statement about what went on January 6th, about how the vice president does not have the power to overturn an election, and about how the process actually takes place. And Trump attacked him. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Trump is killing the Republican Party because he cannot put aside his ego. Again, I voted for Trump. I am a supporter of his policies, but the man needs to go away. His time is done. He needs to step aside.
And I believe that, where did I hear this? But it was something I read or heard that, yes, he's still the elephant in the room, no pun intended, but he's not the elephant he was I believe 3 years is an eternity in politics. I believe he will not have the mojo to get it done. I think people need to know
he
that,
already doesn't have the mojo to get it done, because we learned this in the Virginia gubernatorial election, because Youngkin actually separated from Trump. The Democrats tried to make that entire election a referendum on Trump, and it did not work. Youngkin was, able to take the seat despite Trump's endorsement, by not having Trump campaign with him. And I think that's what you're going to see in the November elections. They're not going to turn him away. They're going to be polite to him, but nobody is going to be going out of their way to have Trump at their side. They're going to align themselves with some of the policies that he put forward, but they are keeping their distance from Trump the man.
100% agree, and I think that's salvation. If he's impossible for him to put his ego, aside. He's the one who screwed up. Many of my conservative friends are pissed at him because he's the one who lost it. He did lose the election. I know there's an election flow. There was irregularities, all that stuff, right? Election fraud, but he opened up the because he was such a friggin' dumbass. Starting with COVID, not his policies again. His policies are right on, but he was, tweeting about all this crap. And then the first debate, he lost it, and he gave us Joe the moron Biden. Am I not correct?
Yeah, he cannot get out of the way of his own ego. If they had taken his phone away from him and not allowed him to tweet, he might still be president.
And I'll just throw one other thing. Even if you don't friggin' believe it, have a fireside chat. We're all in this together. I'm talking about COVID. But he couldn't keep it in his pants. He couldn't keep it together that he's talking about, texting about or tweeting about Fauci. Yeah, Fauci's a moron. I get it. But just keep it together. We're in the crisis. People are looking, just like FDR in World War, people are looking for a unifier, not a divider, and that's where he screwed up. We'll leave on a more lighter note, the Super Bowl. Are you going to watch it, number one? And who are you going for, number two? And number three, who do you think is going to win?
I have no idea who's going to win. I haven't decided if I'm even going to watch.
Like a politician, Dr. Lopkin.
Honestly, I did not pay attention to anything in the postseason. My teams, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I root for the Jets and the Giants. The Jets and the Giants have been mathematically eliminated until 2026 at this point. So, it's...
Actually, they'll be in the Super Bowl when all the planets align. And
you
because you're younger than me, give a shout out to me because it'll be like 2035, I believe.
Yeah, I really haven't paid attention, so I don't know who's going to win. Although, just because of how long it's been since they've gotten there, I kind of hope the Bengals take it.
I like the Bengals, and because I'm twisted and anything that's California-ish, I can do without. So goodbye, L.A. Hello, Middle America. Go Bengals, go Cats. Well, Dr. Lopkin, that concludes another edition of Carnivore Bites. And we are growing in our audience, aren't we?
We are. You can catch every episode at the Carnivore